The Cuban Missile Crisis, a tense 13-day standoff in October 1962, marked a critical moment in the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. Triggered by the discovery of Soviet missiles in Cuba, this crisis brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. Understanding this pivotal event is essential, as it not only shaped U.S. Cuba relations, but also influenced global politics, highlighting the delicate balance of power during a time of intense ideological conflict. In the early 1960s, the geopolitical landscape was dominated by Cold War tensions, with the United States and the Soviet Union vying for global influence. Cuba, under Fidel Castro, aligned itself with the Soviet Union, becoming a focal point of this rivalry. The relationship between Cuba and the USSR deepened, leading to the installation of Soviet missiles on the island. Key figures like U.S. President John F. Kennedy and Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev played crucial roles in escalating and ultimately resolving this crisis. In October 1962, U-2 reconnaissance flights over Cuba revealed the alarming presence of Soviet missile sites capable of launching nuclear weapons. This discovery sent shockwaves through the United States government, prompting an urgent response from President John F. Kennedy and his advisors. The gravity of the situation was undeniable, as the missiles were just 90 miles from U.S. shores. The threat of nuclear confrontation loomed large, escalating tensions and forcing leaders to consider their next moves carefully. In response to the missile threat, President Kennedy decided to impose a naval blockade, or quarantine, around Cuba to prevent further Soviet shipments of military equipment. This strategic move aimed to demonstrate U.S. resolve while avoiding immediate military confrontation. International reactions varied, with some nations supporting the blockade as a necessary measure, while others criticized it as an act of aggression. The potential consequences were significant, raising fears of escalation into a full-blown conflict between superpowers. As the crisis unfolded, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union heightened their military readiness, with troops and nuclear arsenals on high alert. Communication between President Kennedy and Premier Khrushchev became crucial, as both leaders sought to navigate the escalating situation. Meanwhile, public opinion and media coverage intensified the pressure, with citizens anxiously following developments. The fear of nuclear war loomed large, making every decision critical as both superpowers grappled with the potential consequences of their actions. The Cuban Missile Crisis was ultimately resolved through intense negotiations between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. After days of deliberation, Khrushchev agreed to withdraw the missiles from Cuba in exchange for a U.S. promise not to invade the island. Additionally, a secret agreement was reached regarding the removal of U.S. missiles from Turkey. This resolution underscored the importance of diplomacy in averting nuclear war, demonstrating that dialogue could prevail over conflict in a time of extreme tension. The aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis significantly altered U.S.-Soviet relations, leading to a cautious thaw in Cold War tensions. One key development was the establishment of direct communication lines, known as the hotline, allowing leaders to communicate swiftly in future crises. This period also prompted a re-evaluation of nuclear diplomacy, emphasizing the need for dialogue and negotiation to prevent escalation. The lessons learned from this crisis shaped international relations for decades, highlighting the importance of diplomacy in maintaining global peace. In summary, the Cuban Missile Crisis serves as a crucial case study in understanding Cold War dynamics and the delicate balance of power. The events highlighted the importance of diplomacy and conflict resolution in averting nuclear disaster. As we reflect on these lessons, it's essential to recognize their relevance in today's geopolitical landscape. If you found this video insightful, please subscribe, like, and share for more content that explores pivotal moments in history and their lasting impact.